Boom, we're live. Chris Igo, Chris Talks IRL. We have an emergency broadcast right now. There is a severe emergency happening right now. Florida is flooding. Everyone's freaking out. Deadly fallout is right around the corner, and people are panicking. A lot of folks are afraid that we are done. And I'm going to go into this in more depth, more detail. But if you've been watching for a while, you know that I am committed to sharing real life stories. I am committed to sharing exactly what's happening and some of the fears and concerns that I have right now for my family, for myself, for my children. I'm a father. I have two daughters. I want them to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And right now, we have so many things that are terrifying to me that I just want to ensure that we're all on the same page and understand what's happening because frankly, I can get myopic in my thinking, in my vision. I can get focused or hyper focused on work, on taking care of business, on doing what I think must be done next. And I can become completely oblivious to the news cycle. I like to think of myself as a content creator. I do not like to think of myself as a content consumer because it's an enormous waste of time for me. And so I want to add value. I hope I add value to you. And if I do, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, engage with us here because I would love to create stronger relationships, build more friendships. And if you'd like to get more access to me, you can through our membership, which is linked down below or in the description. But want to go into what's happening right now in Florida because it took me by surprise. I had no idea that the other side of the state is legitimately flooding. I got a phone call from my friend Kevin, 24/7, and his wife Squirrel Tribe, Michelle, and they shared with me in real time what they're experiencing in terms of the flooding, in terms of the insane amount of rain, and the fact that the infrastructure is simply not doing a very good job. There is likely to be significant economic challenges in those areas. A lot of folks don't have the money to fix these flooding issues, and with the insurance market the way it is in Florida, I suspect there's going to be a lot of people at risk. But breaking news: DeSantis declares state of emergency as life-threatening rainfall and flooding hits Florida. Um, Look, it's summer in Florida. I expect it to rain. We're in Hurricane Alley. None of this is really surprising to me, but the level and the intensity of the rain completely took me by surprise. Totally. In fact, my daughters and I were shopping the other day, and we saw the rain cloud coming in. And I mean, this thing was dark. It was ominous. It looked scary. So we rushed in real quick, rushed out, thought we beat the storm, celebrated that as we were driving home. But the monsoon that we found ourselves in was terrifying to them. They're crying in the back seat. I'm trying to keep them calm, but it was scary. You couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. But I've driven in worse conditions and I was okay, and we managed to get home safely. A powerful, life threatening storm has drenched South Florida, stranding dozens of drivers and flooded streets and prompting the governor to declare a state of emergency. The decisive storm turned several roads in Miami and Fort Lauderdale areas into streams, causing massive flooding that blocked off roads and forced dozens of drivers to abandon their car and swim to safety. Now, I know there are lots of people out there that are concerned about rising tides, rising global water levels, and I know there are many people that think that Florida at some point will be underwater. I never once thought that to be true, at least not in my lifetime. But as you can see, right now, people are swimming to their homes. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it certainly gives me pause because I understand the insurance market down here. I suspect that this is no bueno for residents, citizens of the state. It's not good, and the main insurer, the insurer of last resort within Florida, Citizens Insurance, simply isn't capitalized the right way to pay out if we are hit with major storms. And so there is an economic challenge that we will be hit with as citizens, period. And it will affect the entire country because if Florida can't bankroll that, And they won't be able to if we are hit with a horrible season of hurricanes. Well, then the government's going to pay for it, and the government is broke. So I am not really bullish on what is likely to happen if these scenarios play out. And we have been lucky for a long time. We haven't been hit with many major storms consecutively. At least my local area, the other side of the state's been hit, but they were manageable. And they're always devastating. And I'm not minimizing it for the people who live there, but economically, we were able to um, ride out that storm. That might not be the case going forward. The article goes on to say catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding is expected to continue into the evening hours across South Florida, with an emphasis on the highly urbanized and densely populated I-95 corridor in Fort Lauderdale South, throughout Miami and Homestead. Well, be prepared, be ready, stay home, don't be on the roads, take precautions. This is a serious storm. DeSantis declared a state of emergency for 5 counties as more heavy rainfall is expected throughout the day Thursday and into Friday. Flood warnings remained in effect for both Broward and Miami-Dade counties Thursday, with some towns receiving over a foot of rain overnight. Hollywood Beach received over 14 inches of rain, while Surfside recorded more than 12. Those showers tapered off overnight. An additional 1 to 2 inches of rain are likely Thursday, with additional downpours expected to pound the region come Friday. Now, at no point did I ever expect to be the weatherman. I'm certainly not auditioning for the role to be the local weather service, but you got to be prepared. And these areas, I used to live in Fort Lauderdale, they will be flooded, and it will be difficult to navigate those challenges if you're there. So be careful. Let's see. It goes on to say flood watch will remain in effect through Friday. Over 100 flights headed for Miami International were canceled, along with 22 headed to Fort Lauderdale. And look, we just simply weren't prepared for that storm. Now, as bad as that is, we all know that the weather is unpredictable. And I'm not exactly surprised that we're getting bad storms. I am extremely surprised to learn what's happening right off the coast of Florida. And this to me is even more disturbing than anything that we would ever talk about as it relates to the weather. 4 Russian warships, including a nuclear sub, are sitting 200 miles off the coast of Florida. Huh. That is terrifying. And that is not being covered at all very much. In fact, I was completely unaware of it up until I got a phone call recently from a friend who lives down in Key West, who is panicked and remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis and remembers the Cold War and remembers what that was like. And they're scared. They are legitimately terrified and panicked. And when people are panicked, they typically don't make good decisions. But in doing a little bit more research, and I'll go further into this, the media is covering this like it's a routine exercise. The media is covering this like it's no big deal. Well, if I was Russia or China or one of our enemies or one of a country that does not wish us well, I would certainly look to what's happening right now in our country as a sign of weakness. And this is when I would definitively make a play or flex on the United States. And that seems to be what's happening. 4 Russian warships, including a nuclear submarine, have reached Cuba, just 200 miles off the coast of Florida, ahead of a planned military exercise in the Atlantic. Planned by who? The fleet, made up of a frigate, which is a warship, a nuclear-powered submarine, an oil tanker, and a rescue tug, arrived in Havana, welcomed by a 21-cannon salute from Cuba. Well, isn't that special? Unbelievable. Drastic images from the arrival show the ominous and massive vessels entering the bay as Cubans lined up on the street. I'm sure they were forced to be there because in Cuba, you are not free. And in the United States, we still are. But I don't know how long that will remain to be true. I don't know what's going to happen as we go into the volatility season of this election. But I do know that right now is a terrifying time to be an American because there is so much fear, so much doubt, so much uncertainty, and they're weaponizing the political system
in ways that have never been done before. So I'm not trying to be political, but I can't not be prepared and I can't pretend that I don't know what's happening. But right now, we've got a real threat to our freedom, and there's censorship everywhere. This video will probably be censored too. Who knows? It wouldn't be the first time I was threatened with that. I'm not concerned about that. If we don't talk about what's actually happening, then we get what we get, and we don't get upset. Welcome to the United States of China or Russia. And right now, with all the things I see inherent in our economic system, it is terrifying. I used to be a stockbroker. And when I was a stockbroker during the great financial crisis, and the system broke, and the banking system failed, and the government stepped in to artificially stimulate and kick the can down the road economically for decades, I knew there was going to be economic hell to pay at some point, and it looks like that point is now. It's scary. Um, the dollar is losing its value on a daily basis. Mortgage interest rates are at an all-time high. There's all kinds of wealth gaps that have completely wiped out the middle class, and that's terrifying. The days of being able to live on a normal wage and live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood with good schools, you got to have $1 million or more of liquidity to be able to do that. And most people don't have that these days. Meanwhile, while all of that is distracting us, what do we have? We've got a nuclear submarine equipped with Zircon hypersonic missiles, according to the Russian government. Um, just think about that. The Cuban Missile Crisis, which was a long time ago, did not include hypersonic missiles, which could be basically anywhere in the United States instantly. That is a terrifying threat. And who do we have to stand up for us? Who is the leader of the free world, if you believe it's still the United States, which I would love to believe that, but we got Joe Biden, who can barely stay awake at a news conference. He can barely speak. He can barely not defecate in his pants, which, if you've seen my video where I talk about shitting my pants, I do have a little bit of empathy for him. But this guy, I feel bad for. He should be able to relax, retire, enjoy the rest of his life, live his golden years. Instead, they're pumping him up with drugs and keeping him artificially stimulated to try to deliver a message that he's clearly not in control of. And that is terrifying to me, but not as terrifying as these hypersonic missiles, which some reports have indicated they were as close as 30 miles off of the shore of Florida. Not many people are covering it. Experts believe the exercise is a show of force by the Kremlin after the U.S. allowed Ukraine to fire American made missiles or American made weapons into Russia to defend Ukraine. Um, yeah, yeah, that's what's happening. They are definitely flexing. This is not surprising to me. What's surprising to me is the fact that not many folks are talking about it. We are at war, my friends. We have the scariest thing about this war is not the fact, well, obviously, nuclear missiles being off the coast and Russia flexing is not a good thing, but they have systematically undermined our population for decades. And I know that because I have two young children. I see the way they are being taught in schools. I see the way they are being indoctrinated into a culture that is so different than anything I grew up with. It is terrifying. And thankfully, I've got the wherewithal and the backbone and the mindset to ensure that they never think that way. But the reality of it is, it's terrifying to think that our youth of today might be called to action to defend us against these hard chargers because Russian children are hard chargers. Chinese children are hard chargers. These cultures are so much stronger generationally than what we are today. It's terrifying. So we must be prepared. We must prepare our children. We must
take actions to be able to defend ourselves if necessary. And anybody who does that doesn't do that. I feel sorry for it. And I'm not a prepper. I'm not some doomsday conspiracist, but I'm also not stupid. So you need to be prepared because this is not good, and it's terrifying. The warships are a reminder to Washington that it is unpleasant when adversaries meddle in your near abroad. Near abroad. Never heard that one before, but yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's never a good thing when warships are right off your coast, especially when they've got hypersonic missiles. But it is what it is. Russian ships and submarines have been docked in Havana since 2008 as part of Russian military exercises. And if that is meant to placate us to think that this is okay, well, I don't believe so. And it's scary out there, but any comments? No. I felt compelled to at least share this because I am committed to sharing my real life stories. And right now, this is the thing that is on my mind. It is terrifying to me, but I will be prepared. I want you to be prepared too. If nobody's told you that they love you today, just know that I do. I appreciate you watching and hope to see you on my next video. Hope you have a great day.